Good morning. Good morning. Don Fitz. Yo. Good morning. Good morning. All you super awesome people. Talking to them, not you.
I know. I know.
Hope you all are having a super fantastic, wonderful, awesome Monday morning. Obviously, I'm making it better. Liz is here to make it back to a normal Monday.
Mediocre.
But, yeah, come on in here. We're a little earlier than normal, but we have a lot going on today. And wanted to take an opportunity to hop on here because this is probably going to be the only day this week. Maybe, Gordon. Remind me, I got to put Gordon in defensive handgun 1.
Oh, okay.
He's going to come take it tomorrow.
Jackpot.
Or retake it tomorrow.
Nice.
So that's something to keep in mind. Anytime you take a class from us, you can retake that class if it's one of the classes that we teach, and most of the classes fall into this category. There's a few that do not. Holster qual, it's not a class. Events like Girls Just Want to Have Guns or something like that doesn't count. But CCW, defensive handgun classes, carbine classes, whatever. If you want to retake them, you can retake them
For free.
You just got to wait till a couple of days beforehand. You can't buy one, take it today, and then book the next 12 defensive handgun 1s for the rest of the year. You can't do that.
That'd be awesome.
You can, but you got to pay for those.
Yeah, you can.
Do you know I had somebody a couple of years ago.
I was going to say belt fed Monday, but anyway.
I wish I don't have a good belt fed thing. Not yet, anyway.
It's good.
But I had somebody a couple of years ago try to. They wanted to retake a class because their friend was in it. Then they tried to return it so that they could take it for free. So he bought the class because his buddy was going to be in it, and it's 3 months from now. And then as it got closer to the class, he said, "Okay, I want to return that." And then can you put me? I was like,
now that there's a spot open.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, it doesn't work that way.
That's.
No. People are. I mean,
some white collar crime right there.
Now I'm getting a little belt fed about that. People are dumb.
They're gonna find a way.
They're gonna try.
Actually, I think it's smart. It's not right, but that's what I'm saying. Their game in the system. It's bad. Just because criminals can be smart doesn't mean they're not bad.
Anyway, so a little bit about what we got going on this week. Craziness. Today, we've got a realtor safety course. So if you have any realtors, it's too late to sign up for this one because it's in an hour. But sorry, I'm still getting over this crazy nastiness that I've had for 2 weeks. Vinny's the instructor tomorrow, I think. Yes, Vinny's the instructor tomorrow. What the hell was I saying?
You were saying a couple of things going on
this week. Realtor safety course. This is something that we typically offer just out at other places. They want us to talk to your people and stuff, and we decided we're going to start doing it here. So this is our first one we're having in our building today. So
other than private ones, we've had
private ones to include shooting. This class is not a shooting class. It's just an awareness class. But it's kind of neat when we have some agencies reach out and they're like, "But we want to shoot also. So we want to do the awareness stuff and that sort of thing. But then we want to go shoot guns."
This is awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. So we got that today. Tomorrow, CCW and defensive handgun. Wednesday, we've got a USCCA pistol instructors course, and we also have Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday.
Wednesday and Thursday. But
this is Wednesday.
This is just Wednesday.
This
the
is Wednesday.
Course is 2 days.
The other thing's 2 days. This is on Wednesday. This is the women's self-defense seminar or clinic or whatever you want to call it. There's a link in the description. You can click on that, and it'll take you to some more information. But it's 7 to 9 p.m. on Wednesday. It's $25. Okay, there are only a few seats left. I think we have 34, 35 people in it, something like that. Max out at 40. If this is, you don't pay till you get there. Okay, if you can't make it, let us know so we can open up seats for other people, please. That goes for anything. We also have 2A day on Thursday night. If you sign up for it and you can't make it, let us know so we can take your name off the list. don't be a
And we
jerk
can
face.
Give away
and-
your free ammo to somebody else.
Yes, don't be a jerk face and take somebody's spot that somebody else would actually use, and then you're like, I feel like having McDonald's tonight, so I'm going to go have McDonald's for dinner and not come here. You're a big jerk face.
You are both men today.
That kind of crap pisses me off. It really does.
I agree. I agree.
So on the 2A day, we're going to have free lanes, I think, all day.
All day.
And then we have an event that evening, I think at 7 o'clock. I think might be 6 o'clock.
I think it's at 6.
I don't know. I'm not sure. But there's a link in the description you can click on, and it'll tell you all the details. Katie's going to be speaking. Alex Shea from GOA is going to be talking. If you've never seen Alex, that's exactly what he'll do. He'll be like, "This is awesome! I love all of you!"
And our Constitution.
Yes. Constitution is awesome! Yeah! Why aren't you pumped up? That's Alex.
He's awesome. That's what he was like when he saw us at SHOT Show. He's like, it's the range! And he was so excited to see us. He's just the best.
God, he is such a cool
All right,
guy.
we got to address these comments before they get too far. I'll let you.
Oh. Play the creep in the real. Yes, you would
Yeah,
do
come
very
on
good
in.
at that.
I'll break your wrist or something.
That'd be awesome.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that.
Oh, man, I yelled too much. That really hurt.
Good job.
Your price. What?
Clifton Morgan. Sounds German.
For the good quality of training you provide, your prices are pretty reasonable. Awesome. Well, thank you, sir. Nick,
Andrew.
good morning.
Is there an age limit for the Gracie workshop? I don't know, but we get into a little bit of a discussion on sexual assault. So not a lot, but a little bit. So at whatever age you think that is a conversation that needs to be had, or it's not an in-depth like birds and bees conversation or anything. It's just, hey, this was a situation that's happened to somebody I love, and it definitely makes you hurt on the inside a little bit. So that's
You talking about Johnny's story? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty tough.
yeah. So that's about it. But mostly the class is physical class, so it's teaching you techniques to overcome strength. So
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It really is a lot of fun. Lots of oh my gosh, you expect me to do that, and then lots of giggling and cackling when they're trying to do it and stuff. It's a lot of fun.
And when they do it, because it looks like, oh, I'd never be able to do that, and then you do it, and you're like, wow, that was really awesome. So, but yeah.
Elizabeth, good morning. Not you, good morning.
I know, I was very confused for a second.
Jim, good morning. So that's what we got going on this week. And what are we teaching on Friday? We have something else. We have classes every day this week, which is awesome, and I love it. Yeah. I can't remember what the heck we have going on Friday. I think CCW or something, maybe. I don't know. But we have stuff going on every day this week, and it's really cool. So we hopped on a little bit early this morning. We wanted to talk about subjective versus objective reasonableness as it relates to use of force. And what is this centered around? Why did this discussion come up this weekend?
Yeah. So some of you may have seen or heard about the officer-involved shooting. I think it was.
Where was that at?
I want to say it was in Texas. It could have been in Florida, but I don't remember.
Here we go.
Here we go. It was involving an acorn. And I say that because that's what most people are labeling. Oh, cop shoots
Florida.
at an acorn. Cop shoots at an acorn. And
In Florida.
Okay, Florida. So let's start at the beginning.
So first of all, before we get into this, we are not Monday morning quarterbacking the incident. Okay?
Correct.
It's going to sound like we are because we're going to come at it from a couple of different angles. I hate it because it's to say that this was done right or this was done wrong is not the goal that we're doing here. It's really easy after the fact to look at 12 different cameras and 18 different commentaries, and then all of a sudden you know exactly what happened, and you got to rewind and replay and rewind and replay in slow motion, and you don't have that shit in real life. So we're not saying anything was right or wrong. We're talking about
the complexities of understanding right and wrong.
Yeah, and how that relates to you as a concealed carrier.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a reasonable person.
I wanted to.
No, that was perfect.
Put that up.
So I'll just start at my understanding of this whole situation. My very first exposure to this was on social media. It's like, hey, did you hear about that cop that shot an acorn? Well, that sounds terrible. So then I watched a media broadcast, like a news service, talk about it. And they showed a portion of the video about yay big, and it's supposed to be this big. So they showed, what I saw was a cop walking past a patrol vehicle, and all of a sudden, they start doing combat rolls, and they get their gun out and start unloading at this police car. And then you come to learn that there was an acorn that had fallen on the roof of the patrol car and hit him in the shoulder, and he perceived that as him being in danger. So he shot at the patrol car thinking that the bad guy in the patrol car was shooting at him first. Okay, so that sounds
terrible.
Terrible.
On the outside, if that's all you hear, that sounds terrible. What do you mean a freaking acorn?
Yeah.
How did that scare him to the point? This is reasonableness, right? This is where we're going. Objective versus subjective.
Yeah.
Okay, so continue.
So I had seen this news story, and I heard this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, of course everybody gets the thought, like, why are they even a cop, and why, I can't believe someone would do that, they're just gun happy or whatever, and all these things. So then I watched the same video, a little bit longer, on Police Activity YouTube channel, which is just the body cam footage from multiple officers at that time. So I got to see the bigger picture. I got to see what was happening that led up to that situation and the bigger picture there. So what I found in that was that I'm gonna try to give you the story without giving you too many details, because it's a big story.
Long, yeah.
So 4 officers had been called to this subdivision, like an apartment complex, where this young lady had let her boyfriend borrow her car, and he was driving around the subdivision for a couple hours, honking the horn and being a nuisance and refusing to return the car back to her. He had sent her a picture of, it's kind of a weird picture, but it appeared to be a gun with a suppressor, a silencer on it, pointed at her dash. So her boyfriend, the perpetrator, had sent her a picture of that in her car that day. So the cops were also privy to this information, while they were talking to her and things like that. So eventually the guy who had stolen the car came to the whole situation where that girl lives. He walked there, though. So the car that he had stolen was still off, parked somewhere. They didn't know where it was. So as he approached, 2 of the officers went to go talk to him, and they did what they call a Terry stop, which is a brief pat down to check for weapons. It's not a full search, but they are patting down pockets and belt lines and things like that to make sure that there's no obvious weapons that could hurt them in that moment while they're doing an interview. I'm not going to give my bias. I'm just going to let it go. Okay? So you see this precursory search happen. Then, as they learn about the gun with the suppressor, they decide and get more information from her. They decide that they're going to arrest this guy. So 2 of the officers, one of them being the one that was the shooter, the cop that unloaded at the acorn, him and the other officer walked over to put the perpetrator in the car, the suspect in the car. I keep using the wrong word. Suspect in the car, and they had done a further search of him before he got put into the car. And that was a full search. So they came back after putting him into the car, and 2 of the officers went to go find the car that he had stolen. And then the sergeant was still talking to the young lady that had her car stolen. And then one of the other officers, what's that?
Sorry.
One of the other officers said he was going to go search the guy again. So he walked back over to the patrol car, and let me just be clear, this was a fairly long video, so this is all part of the grand scheme of things of Monday morning quarterbacking a situation like this. Like, I've only watched it a few times. You could learn something new from this or remember something new from it every single time. So there's might be little things that I'm missing in there, but that's kind of a point of this. So anyway, so as he's walking back to the car to search him again, which is a weird part of it, that's when he hears the acorn drop. Okay. Then the rest of the situation happened. He did his combat roles, shot at the car, blah, blah, blah. So when he started shooting at the car, he said, I'm hit, shots fired. He said a collection of those things. He completely emptied his gun into that car and sat there in the road for a minute with his gun emptied, trying to figure out what the heck happened and if he was even hit. After he had started shooting, the sergeant that was talking to the young lady came over, saw that he was engaged with the police car, addressed his body language and everything like that, and saw that that was what was happening. So she started shooting into the police car as well, thinking that that was where the threat was coming from. So after all said and done, the officer that initially started shooting into the car, his mindset was, where have I been shot at? That's it. That's all he was thinking about. The threat that was in the car was no longer a thought to him. After he emptied his gun, he never reloaded it. It took him a minute to go find some cover, and his thoughts were, where am I hit? Okay? So, with all that, what is reasonable about what he did? Well, in what we just talked about, it's hard to determine what was reasonable. But let's just think about one thing. Before he walked back over to the car, he had just learned that the suspect had a suppressed handgun in the vehicle that he had been driving around in. Okay, so that could go to his state of mind as his reasonableness on if this suspect could still be a threat. What kind of hems me up a little bit on it is that he was already privy to the search that happened before they put him in the car. So was that just a search that was not done well, before they put him in the car? And that he was like, well, maybe now that knowing that he could have a gun, maybe I should search him again. Maybe that was it. I don't know. But the understanding that he had in his head that there was a suppressed gun that could be involved, whenever he was walking up to the car, he could articulate, I'm saying could because I don't know, but it just goes to the psychology of this whole thing, that he perceived that acorn as a suppressed gun. Okay? So, it's like, I use this as an example in some law enforcement classes. If you pull up to a gas station and you see someone barreling out the door and running down the street as fast as they can, and then out comes somebody from the gas station and say, shoot him, he's got a gun. What mindset are you going to be in? You just saw this person running out the door. I'm saying, like, as a cop, civilians typically you shouldn't address something like that. But as a cop, it is that mindset of someone saying, he's got a gun, shoot him. People follow rules and people follow orders, so you have to be careful about someone talking to you like that, saying those things, and you have to stay in your reasonable mind. You have to understand that there are things out there that could give you a bias, whether short-term or long-term, that could change your perspective and perception of things. While something may be reasonable for you, like, I just learned that this person could have a suppressed handgun, and I just heard this noise that it's a sensationalized feeling.
Yeah, I'm curious how many people on the outset of knowing cop here's acorn, hit car, unloads gun into car, like immediately bad move. But then when you hear, okay, cop walks up the car because he thinks the guy has a suppressed handgun on him, and then hears that acorn hit the roof or the hood or whatever it hit, does that change your perception of his reasonableness? Right? That's all we're talking about here. Not whether what he did was right or wrong or not. We don't know. He did resign, I believe,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But how hard do you think, let's just say it was a good shoot all in all, okay, and I'm not saying it was or it wasn't, but how hard do you think it would be to convince 12 other people who heard that, well, the guy heard an acorn hit the car and he just made an assumption that gunshots were going off? This is a combat vet that knows what gunshots are. He knows that an acorn's not a gunshot. He just wanted to shoot somebody, right? Well, now all of a sudden that becomes not reasonable. Or if you get people that are like, well, I know what suppressed gunfire sounds like. Doesn't sound like regular gunshots. I could see where he might think that. Now, that's all subjective. That's
subjective.
Just thoughts about things, not objective of something being thrown at his face or glass breaking or car door getting kicked open or something along those lines. Excuse me. This is all just state of mind, just thinking. So this is outside of this situation. It's something super important for you to understand as a concealed carrier, that you might be in fear for your life because of something you feel or think
An emotion. Yeah.
is going to happen, and that might not be true, right? I'm sure I've said it on here before, but I say it in all my CCW classes about somebody who's scared to death of clowns. Just because you have an unreasonable fear of clowns doesn't mean you can go around and start shooting clowns, because you legitimately fear for your life. You are scared that this clown is going to rip your face off and you are going to die. You are in fear for your life, but it's an unreasonable fear. Is this unreasonable, or is it reasonable? I don't know the answer.
There's many other things that we don't know. So that's, and to your Clyde, he says, was a suppressed handgun found in the stolen vehicle, or was it not found? If one was found, what's the likelihood of this guy having two suppressed handguns in a situation? That's kind of where that searching part kind of gets a little weird.
Yeah.
So,
to the best of my knowledge, the car, the girlfriend's car, had not been found yet.
At that point, correct. Yeah.
The cops had just seen the picture he sent of a suppressed handgun sitting on the passenger seat or the back seat or his lap or whatever it was. But him having a suppressed handgun inside of her car.
But
that's all they saw.
And the real point here is, Clyde, to your point, is you're trying to dive into the nitty-gritty of logic. And that's precisely our point, is that emotions, especially in adrenaline pump situations, will not typically allow you to think logically. So while it makes sense for us to look at this now and say, well, you know, if they already confiscated one gun, there's probably not another one. Like, all of that stuff makes perfect sense for us to look at after the fact. But to look at it in that moment that's where things like this, exactly, a millisecond decision. You have. They said that there was a half a second between the acorn hitting the roof and him doing his combat rolls. So which is so interesting to me, the amount of reaction time and everything. There's so many things that you can analyze in this situation. The point of this is just to say that the first exposure that you have to these things are usually on the news, and be careful with that, because all that did when I first saw that was give me a bias towards a shitty cop. And I'm not saying what he did was right, but we don't know yet. And that's where it really comes into play, that you have to understand people judging you and what your emotions will do to you. You have to have, John Correa on Active Self-Protection says this all the time, you have to have emotional fitness. You have to understand emotions versus logic, and objective versus subjective, and reasonable versus unreasonable. And the perception of other people on you is going to be what keeps you in or out of jail. And these things are really important. One thing that I noticed whenever I've taken classes, typically with him running a defensive handgun class, whenever he'll use the word gun to get people as a command to draw their gun, he'll say it in different ways. You know, he'll yell it like really loud. And it's interesting to see the amount of chaos in people when they hear someone yelling, "Gun!" and they're just frantic and they feel like they have to do everything fast and out of control. But when he goes, "Gun?" They're like,
Yeah, almost always, at least if let's just say there's a line of 6 people, I'll go gun. You'll see like one person will draw, and like 2 or 3 will kind of look over their shoulder and like, what am I supposed to? Oh, I'm supposed to go. You know, that's acting on emotion.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I tell you the word, the action word for you is this word, whatever the word is. In this case, gun. And it doesn't matter. I didn't say only when I say it at a certain tone or certain inflection or certain decibel level or anything like that. When I say this word, you do an action. And if I say it super loud and aggressively, they'll and then I'll just say gun.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. And we usually call it out because it's important for you to know as a concealed carrier that if you're in a heated argument with someone and all you can think is high stress, high emotion, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to react in a way that you probably shouldn't. Don, you bring up, media is not unbiased reporting anymore, just going to show you what they want to sway your thoughts. Now, here's interesting, because you're right, 100% I agree with you, but the first media story that I saw on this was from a gun-friendly person, a cop-friendly person, a pro-2A, pro-blue line, everything. So it's not necessarily that. It's just a human perspective of something without understanding the details behind the psychological aspect of using force, or just being in a critical moment of stress. Now, real quick, what about the sergeant that decided to shoot in the car just because he was shooting? Where's the reasonableness there? So the third time I watched this whole thing, I actually watched Andrew Branca's articulation of it. Andrew Branca is a defense attorney, very well-known defense attorney, and he read through the police report and watched the video and gave his legal perspective of it and everything, and it was very enlightening. The police report, it gave me so much more information I couldn't even begin to tell you. The amount of details that Sergeant Roberts went into to articulate her reasonableness in shooting into the car. If you have time, I highly recommend you going and watching Andrew Branca's reading. It's not the whole police, he doesn't read the thing word for word, but you can clearly hear her define the reasons on why she made those choices. Now, she's used to making police reports, she's used to articulating her reasons, and that's why she's so good at it. But if you need to have an understanding of what to expect as far as articulating your reasonableness, go watch it, because it will clearly define for you what they expect you to say or what will help you give objective details to your state of mind. Was the guy in the car even hit with 30 rounds coming in his direction? No, he was not hit. I would say the media is trying to create an emotion in the viewer or reader. It has becoming more entertainment. Absolutely, Nick. Yeah. I 100% agree.
I've often thought, so I have a background in video production, and I've told people this a bazillion times, that I could take 60 seconds of video and put it together and add a narration over the top of it and make you feel one way, and then take that exact same video, put a different narration on it, edit it a little bit differently, and have you feel something 180 degrees out. It's really easy to do, and they all do it for viewership and so on. I've often thought, and I certainly don't have the funds to do this, so if you have it, go do it, is just, and it would probably never succeed, but just have a good news station. Like, this charity raised $1 million today because they are awesome. And that's all you hear. Not all this, not the shootings, not the robberies, not the news as we know it, but just good information. And it would be so interesting as a social experiment to see how that does.
Yeah, for sure. So when I first
Thanks, Nick.
When I first saw the video, I was thinking that the sergeant that shot into the vehicle was pretty negligent for just shooting into a vehicle that she had no idea what was going on. But when you hear her articulate why she did it, she was very reasonable. She actually, the officer that was engaging the suspect first, the barrel roll guy, he's a combat vet, and she actually said that he has proven himself to be very good under stress in times past while working with her. So she could reasonably articulate her reason for trusting his decision to shoot. And he said that shots fired, he said he'd been hit. She was able to articulate his body language and the way that he was pointing and aiming towards the car. So she was able to articulate all that stuff. And after hearing all that, she was very reasonable in what she did. But again, at least in my opinion, that's my opinion. Joe Schmo down the hall could think completely differently. So I think that it makes sense for you to go and hear or listen more about that so you can figure that out for yourself. That's what I thought. So we also have zero visual on a target, just shooting into an area. Again, I'm Monday morning quarterbacking here. Glad he wasn't hit, but kind of crazy that no rounds hit the intended target. It is crazy.
It is. And I think that both officers are lucky that it didn't. Listen, I watched a video. This was, I don't even know when it was. Let's say it was a year ago, of a car chase. We might have even talked about it on here, where the cops are shooting out of a window as they're driving down the road, like literally holding the gun over the roof of the car, shooting. They eventually, I don't know, let's just say there's 8 cop cars involved in this chase. They get the guy pulled over. Cops have the car surrounded, and they all unload on this car. Nobody got hit except for 2 cops who were both shot by other cops. Okay, so I'm just saying it's not super surprising in that moment of chaos, and there's rounds coming at me. In this case, now we know it's an acorn, but there's rounds coming at me from this vehicle. I'm going to dump rounds into the vehicle, and I think both cops are very lucky the guy did not get hit. But yeah.
And do you know what this made me want to do? This whole situation, I want to go get force on force training. Like I know that we play around with that a little bit, but understanding how
so fun.
What you do under stress, everybody's different. Your reaction to stress and certain stressors is going to be different. If you came at me with a knife, I would probably react very differently than he would, because I have a fear of knives. I understand that about myself. That's important, because if I had an irrational fear of knives and I chose to use lethal force, now a knife is worthy of using lethal force against, given that it's a very specific circumstance. But that you have to know that about yourself. How else would you know that about yourself if you don't practice and understand that? So the guy wasn't hit because as soon as he started taking fire, he turned into Cheerio out of the back seat.
Probably.
That's right. It's all those combat roles. Panic spraying is a very inaccurate way to shoot, but absolutely. Oh, yeah. That's emotional shooting.
Yeah.
That's yeah, absolutely.
That's just ripping a trigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. And after that, here's how he was in self-preservation mode.
Yeah.
Period.
Absolutely.
From the moment that it happened. So
lizard brain is what's working at that point.
Because also after the shooting had stopped, he was not worried about apprehending the suspect. That was not his goal. His goal was to figure out how to live. Period. He wasn't worried about any other person. He wasn't worried about his sergeant. He wasn't worried about the public. I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying that that's where his brain went. Yeah. I think that there's something to be said of law enforcement and their ability to overcome that, which takes personal training and personal understanding of yourself. Obviously, every department's not capable of providing those resources training-wise, and I wish they were. But damn it, if you're LE, or if you're just in general, if you carry a gun, learn yourself. You have to understand what you're capable of doing. You have to understand your emotions and where that's going to take you. What are your triggers? Just understand yourself, because you don't want to understand yourself in the moment when it's too late to make decisions. But after it all happened, he was still trying to figure out where he got shot, not try to figure out if that suspect was still, a threat. It was, where did I get shot? I'm sure I got shot. I feel funny. I lost control of my legs. There was all kinds of things he was able to articulate about the way he felt, but not necessarily what the suspect was doing. So that goes to his state of mind of self-preservation, which is important to understand. So that's all I got to say about that.
A little bit heavy topic, but good topic. And again, we're not saying anything about what he did, right or wrong, because we don't really know. This is more just an exercise in understanding what can happen to your brain, and are you able to articulate, are you able to stay objectively reasonable, right? That's really what you're graded against your reasonableness, right? Somebody else is going to try to make a determination on what you, or a group of people are going to try to make a determination of what you did reasonable.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Was what
you did? Wait.
How else would you say that? Anyway.
Was what you did reasonable?
Yeah.
Was what you did.
Sure.
Where's Workman?
Yeah. Thank goodness he's not here. So many involuntary physiological responses. Yeah.
Based off of psychological.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Okay. That's it.
That's it.
We got class here soon, so we gotta go.
We gotta go get ready for class.
We get to talk more about it in class.
Something else that we talked about the other day is just remember what you said. Uh-oh. What did I say?
I don't know.
I don't know if I want to know.
Just leave that between you guys.
Yes.
Ryan.
Well, you have to go back and rewatch.
Rewind.
If you have topics that you want us to talk about on here, ask the questions. Yeah. You can send questions to training@therangestl.com or just send us a Facebook message and Charles will send it over to us and all that jazz. But if there's something, maybe there's a video you saw that you want us to look at, and other people you don't know will determine your life after you. Yeah, and that sucks. That sucks. Yeah. That's a terrible spot to be. Had he killed that guy? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Gosh dang it. Because of another bias in our society currently against law enforcement.
Yeah.
Even if what he did was right. And again,
there's so much more to this story.
This is a crazy story.
It is.
But if he had killed that guy, he'd absolutely be going to jail.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that might be the right decision.
Yeah.
That might be the right decision. It may not be the right decision. But he absolutely would be, in my opinion. Yeah. Certainly, I don't know. Thankfully, he did not kill a guy.
There's one more thing I was going to say.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. If you think about it, interrupt me. So, anyway, if you have questions that you want us to cover or videos you want us to watch or talk about, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you have, people get anxious about asking questions pertaining to use of force for obvious reasons. I get it. So we're happy to not use your name if you want. If you want to email us, training@therangestl.com, we're happy to say, so-and-so, Joe Schmo, asked this question, and here it is. It can be an anonymous question. I'm going to work on getting like a little suggestion type box thing somewhere up here to where you can just write it on a piece of paper and drop it in there, so that way it can be really anonymous, because these questions, oftentimes people don't feel comfortable asking these questions. And I'm not going to tell you that we're going to give you some in-depth lawyer explanation on legalities, because we are not lawyers at all, not even close. So we will do our best. And if there's a question that comes across where we won't touch it, then we'll tell you that. We're like, hey, we had this question. It's not something that we're comfortable answering. Here's a resource for you. But want you to know that you can ask us these questions, and we're happy to talk about them, discuss them on the live, and we can do that. So that's it.
All right, we gotta go.
Okay.
You guys have a super awesome day. If you need something, come see us, 1403 Manchester Road in beautiful Baldwin, Missouri. Come shoot your guns. Come buy something new and cool. Come hang out. Come take a class. You guys stay safe. Be nice to one another, and we will catch you soon. Later.
Toodles.
Awkward pause.